All right. Hello, hello. Just shutting off the music here. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being with us for day 3. And I just want to take a moment to honor each and every one of you, whether you're watching this live and participating fully, or whether you're distracted because you're multitasking, or whether you're watching this recording, maybe you're driving, or maybe you are taking a moment with a cup of tea. I want to honor you wherever you are right now, because where you are right now is exactly where you're meant to be. And something inside of you has nudged you, has brought you to the place where you are participating in this masterclass. And so throughout today, as we're going to be carrying on with some familiar material, we're going to talk a little bit about what we learned over the course of the past couple of days. And as we launch into the topic today of discovering your purpose, I want you to just, wherever you're at, to accept wherever you're at. There is no judgment. There is no, I should be further ahead. I should have this figured out. None of that nonsense exists. You're going to park that at least for the next hour, because any of that mind chatter that tends to clutter up, tends to make us feel like maybe we're less than, or we're not as great and wonderful as this person or that person, or we're, not where we think we should be. We're just going to park it, because today is all about discovery. Today is all about you tuning into yourself, your authentic self, which sometimes gets a little bit murky as we allow other things to cloud our pathway. But really, this is truly about tuning in. And today, I would encourage you to grab yourself a pen or pencil, whatever you prefer, and a notebook, because I am going to be walking you through some questions to prompt some memories, to prompt some discovery and unveiling of who you are, who you've always been. Because the reality is, who you are, even if right now you kind of feel like you're a bit of an artificial version of yourself, or maybe you're kind of a half-hearted version of yourself, who you are is there. You're already here. You already came to this world fully equipped, ready to take on your purpose. And so today I want you to be in that process of discovering. Now, if you already feel like you know your purpose, it's all good, because often there are multiple purposes in our lives. It's not just that we're all given one specific purpose and we're only here for this one thing. There can often be multiple things. And so I would invite you to stay in that place of curiosity today, to stay in that place of wonder and awe. And what could you discover about yourself today? So if you're with me, drop a 1 in the chat and say, okay, I'm here. Even if you're multitasking, you can just say, I'm honoring myself wherever I'm at in this process right now. So let's get started. I read a book in university, and it was by this gentleman, Viktor Frankl, and it was called Man's Search for Meaning. And if you've not yet read this book, I highly recommend it. Viktor Frankl was a World War II Holocaust survivor, and his book transformed my understanding of life and how we live each moment of our day. Have I forgotten some of the principles along the way? Yes, I am human. Yet when I am reminded, I come back to that place of, oh, right, this is what it's all about. And I love this quote: life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. The reality is, we torture ourselves. We come with all manner of things that we're thinking and criticisms and should haves and shouldn't haves and all that kind of stuff, no matter the circumstances, we tend to make it far worse than it actually needs to be. So, are some life circumstances absolutely dreadful and awful and horrifying and very challenging to go through? Yes, absolutely. And yet, within that, if we just can truly go within and come up with and discover and uncover some sense of meaning and purpose, it can actually become bearable. Dr. Edith Eger is another person. I read her book called The Choice. I read it a couple of years ago, read it a couple of times. The audio version is fantastic. She too is a Holocaust survivor and just brilliant in terms of teaching us how in the worst of circumstances, we can choose a different path. We don't have to have our life dictated by somebody else. We can actually choose a new path for ourselves. So purpose really begins with exploration. And if you're in that place right now where you're exploring and you're curious, awesome. That's exactly where you want to be right now. Because this isn't about, oh, I'm already 35 or I'm already 65 and I still don't know what my purpose is. That's okay. It's really okay. I'm here to tell you, if you don't discover your full, beautiful, authentic purpose for another year, that's okay. If it takes you a decade to really unpack and uncover, that's okay. We think about the things we were talking about yesterday with the blue zones, and those people live into their 90s and 100s, and they continue to discover purpose and they continue to live beautiful lives because of this understanding that it's not about, I've run out of time. It's every day, every moment, understanding that there is purpose even within this present moment. Discovering your purpose also is about really coming into alignment. Who are you? I know at different times in my life, I've asked this question, and at different seasons of my life, I've had new discoveries because I thought, okay, I thought that's who I was, but I'm realizing that was almost like an imprint of what my family wanted me to be. And now I have to unpack that and go forward with my true self. And I know at other seasons, it's become really clear to me that, gosh, I just went through a really hard time. Like when I went through divorce, and it was literally an overnight realization that the marriage had ended, and we'd been together for 19 years, married for 17. We had 3 young children at the time. And I found out some things about our relationship and realized we didn't have the marriage I thought we had. So therefore, everything literally stopped. Everything came to an abrupt end. The house we lived in, the dynamics of our family life, how I worked my business. I mean, literally everything shifted in that moment. And yet, because I had already at that point discovered that I kind of liked myself, and in fact, loved myself most days, and B, that I had this sense of calling to bring me forward every day, even though I was feeling like garbage half the time. Half the day I felt like garbage, but like I've been kicked in the stomach and punched in the gut. And even though I was feeling all of those feelings, there was something drawing me forward. And part of that was my sense of purpose around raising my children. And I had this very strong sense, very strong desire to continue to build into their lives, to continue to equip them with a sense of loving themselves. And I continued to desire to be a mother who could show them how to navigate through really challenging times and be able to continue to move forward, feeling it all, not ignoring it, not doing the whole spiritual bypass and pretending like that doesn't exist, but showing them. So that became part of my purpose during that time, was to actually walk the journey and model that in front of them. And I was able to do that because I had this strong sense of who I was and the things that I valued. And it really took being present. And this is the thing when it comes to much of our life, we're often not present. We're not in the moment. We're kind of scattered and we're kind of living by default. And when we come present, we're going to have an opportunity in a moment to do a meditation so that we can all really become present in this moment. When we begin to do this more and more, we begin to find those purposes in our everyday experiences. Whether you're in a workplace and career that you love or not, you can actually find purpose in those seasons. So, for example, my father was somebody who never really discovered his career purpose. He was a jeweler back in the 70s, had his own store. And then unbeknownst to him, the mall that he was in was going to be torn down within 2 years of him purchasing the store. And he ended up losing a lot of money, his entire investment. And it took him decades to come out of that. And in the midst of that, he went from job to job to job to job to job. And I remember one day he had, in his latter years, prior to becoming disabled, he was disabled for his last 20 years and so didn't work. But there was a chunk of time in the early 90s where he owned a watch kiosk in a mall. And I remember working there with him on the weekends and realizing that his purpose was not selling watches. His purpose was in the relationships that he was building with the store owners, with the customers, with everybody who came by his booth. And he had people who would come by on a regular basis just to be with him. And in fact, when he was in hospital for 3.5 years, which is a very long time to be in hospital, and you can imagine, no career, no business. And we tend to think of purpose in terms of career, in terms of business, in terms of what it is that I am producing. And yet for him, he had people who would visit him. They had it scheduled in their calendars. They would visit him every single week. I mean, for years. We're not talking a little short stint in the hospital, for years. And what we all witnessed and observed during that time was that he was building into people. He was 150% present to that person when they were in front of him. And when you saw him at events, when he was not in the hospital, when you saw him in events, he would be sitting with somebody and it was as though nobody else in the room mattered because he was giving them his undivided attention. And I really see how my father, even though he felt this angst and disappointment around not having that career that he could kind of call his own, he lived his purpose, even in the midst of incredible, enormous suffering. I mean, his disabilities were excruciatingly painful for a 20-year period of time. And when he passed away in I believe it was 2021 or 2022, time, the past few years, time has kind of been odd. I think we can all agree. But when he passed away, it was like all of us breathed a big, deep breath for him because we know now he is no longer suffering. But at the same time, this tremendous loss for this human who just gave to so many people. So I want you to just really rest in the knowing that even if you haven't fully stepped into that place of personal purpose, it's still there. And there's probably lots of pieces in your life where there's major evidence for that you're maybe not even acknowledging or noticing at this time. And I don't know if my father ever really got how tremendous it was for people to just be in his presence. I don't know if he ever really understood that ultimately was his purpose. And I want you to live your life knowing that you matter and that whatever those purposes are for you, doesn't matter what it looks like to the outside world. It doesn't matter how things are supposed to be or should look or whatever else we're telling ourselves. it matters that you continue every day to be just either in discovery of what that purpose is and just allowing it to unveil, allowing it to unfold, or that you are actually in that intentional taking action on that purpose. So whether you're in the discovery, whether you're taking action, or maybe a mix of both, it's all good. We only have this present moment. That's it. The past is already gone. The future is yet decided. All we have is the now. All we have is this present moment. And it only requires of us to take one next step, one next step, and one next step. And oftentimes we think we have to have it all mapped out. We got to figure it all out, and the path needs to be set out in front of us. And that is not how life unfolds for anyone. The reality is life unfolds one moment at a time. And so all that is needed from us is to take the next step. And perhaps that next step is taking a deep inhale and a beautiful exhale. Or perhaps that next step is actually doing a little research or having a conversation with someone. Many times over the years, I've sat down intentionally, taken someone up for coffee and let them know, I want to interview them. I want to pick their brain. I want to know who they are. I want to understand what's their story and how did they get from there to here and what makes them tick. And that's a really beautiful way for you to discover who you are, even just by understanding who other people are. Reading biographies can be brilliant for this too, because read biographies and you see your own journey in their stories and you see how, oh, wait a second, that's me too. I resonate with that. I understand that. And so in this discovery process, and even in the process when you're fully stepped into your purpose, understanding how other people's stories have unfolded can also give you insight and revelations. It's important to listen to your heart. And sometimes we don't know, is this my heart speaking this? Is this my intuition? Or is this my mind that's, spinning around in there? And this is where you really want to be able to come back to the present and allow yourself to just continue to feel. Where do I feel that in my body? Oh, I feel that in my stomach right now. How does my stomach feel? Well, it's kind of twisting and turning. Okay, so is that because I'm excited about this? Or is that because it's like ooh, no, wrong way, wrong direction? So part of being in this process of unveiling your purpose is also being able to tune into your body, being able to tune into your heart, and being able to actually put aside all the extra stuff, if even just for a moment. If you're the kind of person that you find you have this ongoing reel, this film strip that just keeps running in your mind of all the things that you have yet to do, all the things that you shouldn't have done, or the things you shouldn't have said, or the people that you see on social media and in your life who seem to have it all worked out and seem to live this idyllic life, which the reality is nobody does. We all have things, we all have garbage, we all have baggage. But if you're somebody who finds that you have this continually going on in your mind, it's even more essential that you begin every day to start taking time to just breathe, taking time to just tune inward. Now, if you're somebody with a really full schedule and your kids wake you up first thing in the morning and you're go, go, go right till you fall asleep at night, it may mean that when you're sitting on the toilet, this is your time. You have 30 seconds to just breathe and be. And if you have to lock your door because you got little children, and I've been there, I have 4 children, ages now 6 to 21. And yeah, I've had those years where even in the bathroom, I'm not safe. So if you got to lock the door, lock the door. Whatever it takes, take some time. You matter. You deserve this. You deserve a quiet moment to yourself to tune in. It is next to impossible to really discover who you are and discover your path if it's nothing but noise and nothing but everybody else's pulling at you and everybody else's needs for you. If you're in that position where it's all about everybody else, that's why you're here today then. That's why you're here, because your higher self said, you need a reminder. You need a reminder that it is your time. It is your time to tune in. So going into your heart may feel a challenge for some of you. For some of you, this is really easy and you kind of lead from the heart in everything. It may be your time to actually begin to have some conscious thought around it and to really articulate what you're feeling. It might be a time for you to start writing more. So listening to your heart, this is so important. Purpose is the intrinsic and intentional pursuit of meaning and fulfillment in your actions. It's guided by your values. It's guided by your passions. And it's really this sense of how we are contributing to ourselves and to others. And yesterday I was mentioning to a dear friend of mine that I was hosting this masterclass and today's topic was going to be purpose. And she sent me a reel and I thought, oh, what a great quote. So I have included it here. You can find Jenny DeNovi online, and she was quoting her teacher who she had just had an interaction with. She had just bumped into a former teacher from her childhood. And she had just said to her teacher, like, oh my gosh, it took me so long to find my purpose. And I had to laugh because this girl couldn't be more than 31. And here she's thinking it took her so long to find her purpose. And I think, there's lots of people in their 60s and 70s and 80s who maybe haven't found their purpose yet. So anyways, I love this quote. This is what her teacher said to her. You have to live first. You have to live fully to find your life's purpose. And you also need to go through the darkest of times to become the person that you would have needed in that dark time. And that person that you would have needed is your life's purpose. You might want to take a screen capture of this, because if you are in that place of, wanting to figure it out or wanting to rediscover some more purposes for yourself, it could be that there's some elements of time in your life, some season in your life where you were going through real dark time. You were having a giant struggle. Often think of MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, who all those mothers back in the early 80s, when they became, mothers of children who died in these car accidents, they turned that pain and suffering into something good, into something that began to shift how our culture perceived drinking and driving. Because up until then, it was just, it may have been illegal, but it kind of was an accepted norm. They shifted our cultural response to that. So out of their darkest time, they discovered their purpose. And so you may find you had a purpose when you're in your 20s and a purpose in your 30s, and then you went through something in your 40s, and by the time you're in your 50s or 60s, you're just rediscovering new purposes based on what you went through in those other seasons. So I want us to take a moment, and I want us to do just a bit of a time where we are going to go inwards. Now, if you're driving right now, you can come back to the replay later and watch this so that you can do the meditation. I want you to be safe wherever you are, or feel free to pull over, or feel free to just be wherever you are right now. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to sit comfortably, not too comfortable so you're slouching and you could fall asleep, but just comfortable enough. Uncross your legs if they're crossed. And I want you to take a slow, deep inhale through your nose. We learned about this the other day on Masterclass Day 1, how this helps with oxygenation, helps with your blood pressure. So we're taking deep inhales through our nose and slow exhales out. And today, let's take the exhale right out through our mouth. So go in and out. Continue breathing, just focusing on your breath. Allow your shoulders to relax. And just feel the cushion underneath you. Maybe place your hands on your lap with your hands facing up in a receiving position. So right now, you're going to park all your responsibilities. You're going to park anything that you've got going on later on today. You're going to park any of the mind chatter that seeks to bring you down. We're going to park all of that right now, and you're going to be receiving. You're receiving messages, you're receiving intuition. Right now, you are just open and you're present to this moment. Continue breathing. I want you to relax the muscles on the top of your head. You have muscles there. I want you to just consciously relax them all the way down through the jaw muscles. You're just relaxing. You might even want to allow your mouth to drop open. Allow your forehead to relax. Let go of any furrow in your brow. Now, breathing in, I want you to imagine the breath coming from the top of your head, through your throat, down through your heart chakra, down through your solar plexus, which is above your belly button, down through your sacral chakra, your root chakra, right through your legs, through your feet, right down into the earth. So as you breathe, I want you to just imagine that breath coming from above and coming all the way through, dropping through your entire body into the earth. And now I want you to imagine that breath coming from the earth up through your legs, up through all your tissues, up through all your organs, and all the way up and out your head through your crown chakra. And just continuing to breathe from above through to the earth and from below up through your crown chakra. I want you to place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and I want you to feel that breath coming in through your belly. And I want you to say to yourself, now if you're in a good place where you can say this out loud, feel free to say it out loud. If not, just say it in your mind. I am enough. I am whole. As I continue to seek my purpose and purposes, I remain curious and open to receive. I have all that I need within me now. I allow myself to take one step forward, and I allow the next step to be revealed as I continue to take one more step forward. I came here to be love, to show love, to bring love, and to feel love. I trust my inner guidance and inner wisdom. Continue to breathe in and breathe out, allowing yourself to be present to this moment. Placing your hands again open to receive on your lap. Saying, I am open-hearted and I have hands ready to receive all the messages that are already here for me, for my life's purpose, and for what I am here to bring this world. And so it is. Okay. You can open your eyes. If you've got something to hydrate, feel free to hydrate. How does that feel? Right into the chat. How did that feel for you? Did it feel like you were able to calm your nervous system? Did it feel like you were able to park things that are kind of in the background there for you? Sometimes it's hard for us to just allow ourselves this place of tuning in. And that's why the practice of meditation can be so powerful for us. It can really allow us to tune in. Yeah. So throughout the day today, if you continue to want to just tune in, do so. You have the ability to do that, whether it's for a few seconds or for more. I wanted to share a couple of people with you today because I think sometimes we forget that there are people that we can observe and look to for inspiration. And I love Emmeline Pankhurst's story. Emmeline Pankhurst was a big part of the suffragette movement in the UK. And this woman, I mean, against all odds, excuse me, this woman, I'm going to put myself on mute for a second as I clear my throat. So she was a big part of the suffragette movement. And she ended up meeting a fellow who was a lawyer for the movement. They ended up marrying. They had 3 young daughters when he died suddenly. And they had been such a team with this movement. And yet Emmeline Pankhurst, now faced with having to raise 3 young girls all by herself and continuing this movement, she continued to persevere. She continued to really, against all odds, use her voice. I mean, this was a movement where we all know the history, where women were imprisoned. There were all manner of violence taken and opposition against the women and the men who were a part of this movement. And yet she stood firm. She truly stood firm, and she actually was alive to see women win the right to vote, which is so amazing. I mean, can't even comprehend being around at that point of time in history. Oh, how glorious. I mean, it was really the first step in women being able to be seen as equal members of society. So really, really incredible. And perhaps you are somebody who doesn't have a big vision, a big sense of purpose, and that's okay. You don't have to. As I mentioned with my father, he didn't have this grand purpose. For him, it was in the moment, connecting with each human. But perhaps there is something for you where there's a bigger calling, and perhaps it's actually requiring you to become really uncomfortable because society may not want you to step into your power in the way that you know you're being called to. Perhaps it's uncomfortable because you've always seen yourself a certain way, and you're having a hard time imagining yourself stepping into those shoes and fitting those shoes. That's where it's so important for you to bring around people who will partner with you, who will cheer you on, who will let you know this is the way forward for you, to remind you when you're feeling discouraged, when you're feeling like Emmeline Pankhurst, who I can imagine over the decades felt the opposition and felt like everybody's against you and felt like it's never going to happen. I mean, how many times in our lives have we felt that? Oh my goodness, how many times? So Wayne Dyer, beautiful, incredible human. He wrote many, many books, and really his purpose was all about empowering individuals to live fulfilling lives by tapping into their inner potential that we all have. We all have it within us to live an extraordinary life, to live a life that is full of purpose and wonder and awe. And we think about people like Albert Einstein, who, a scientist who, and mathematician who, and, he's multi-passionate individual who actually shifted a lot of how we perceive everything. And quantum physics nowadays, for instance, is in large part due to some of his unveiling and unfolding and research and understanding of how the universe works. So I love that people like Albert Einstein have enabled all of us from here on to have an understanding of life based on the fact that he, among other pioneers, really were looking at uncovering all the secrets, uncovering everything. And for myself, I have only recently discovered my life's purpose. And it's one of my purposes because, as I mentioned, I do have 4 children. And so one of my purposes is to be mama to them and all that that entails. And more recently, I've articulated my purpose, but it doesn't mean I wasn't already living it. It's just that now I'm like, oh yeah, this is my purpose. And my purpose, one of them, is to curate spaces where people authentically connect, heal, grow, and make an impact. Now, I do this in multiple areas of my life. It's one of the reasons I've just launched Uplifted Collective, which I mentioned yesterday on our masterclass. And it's one of the things where I host events in my home as often as I possibly can because I love it. In fact, my choir, whenever we have times where we gather, it's usually because I've initiated it. So outside of choir time or outside of performances, I usually about twice a year will say, okay, guys, we're going to do a potluck at my house. I love setting up everything. I love getting my house ready. I love making sure we have name tags for everybody so that we don't have to all remember each other's names, so that we can just, be present to one another, not thinking, oh gosh, what's this person's name, right? So I love the details involved in making this space welcome for people to feel heard, for people to feel seen, for people to feel known. This is such a passion for me. So that's not business, that's one of my hobbies as far as choir goes. And I get to be this person who curates these spaces, who brings people together. That's what I get to do. And I've recognized now, I just hadn't articulated it before, but I've recognized that this is what I love to do. And with Uplifted Collective, we get to do this on a weekly basis where we come together and we connect. Now, I bring the topics of conversation and I will host the meeting, and I often have lots of ideas and things that I bring to the table, but it's in the collective energy of everybody sharing from their life experiences, from their stories, from what works for them, or what questions that they have, or things that they're going through in their life that they want coaching from myself, and then counsel from the entire group. I mean, this is such a for me, it's like it's the perfect culmination of my purpose to curate these spaces where people come together. And we hosted a retreat recently in my home, of course. And one of the gals in our membership group brought all of her sound bath healing instruments. I don't own a rain drum. I mean, this drum is massive that she brought. Oh my gosh, the sound is exquisite. It's so extraordinary. And so she brought all of these sound instruments so that we could all participate in a sound bath. That's the beauty of people coming together. That's the beauty of us not trying to figure this all out on our own. And so I love that Uplifted Collective really is this beautiful revelation and culmination of everything that is part of my purpose. My belief is that you have it within you to live an extraordinary, beautifully aligned life, really and truly. And I want you to take a few moments to sit with these questions. And I want you to begin to just tune in and just be present. Don't worry if you can't answer all of these questions right now. I'm going to give you just a few minutes for this series, and then we're going to move on to another few questions. Feel free to take a screen capture so that you can always come back to these later, keeping in mind that your purpose is more about a discovery process than it is about figuring it out right here, right now. And if you're young and watching this, you're in your 20s, your 30s, and you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, I'm not even close to figuring it out. It's all good. Sometimes people don't figure out their purpose or purposes until they're in their 80s, and that's all good. As long as we're in that motion of forward movement and we're in that place of curiosity about ourselves and curiosity about what makes us tick, about what we love, as long as we stay in that place of curiosity. It was one of the biggest coaching tips I received years ago from a coach that I had hired to work with me on my business, was to stay in that curiosity so that we can stay out of the place of shame and blame and criticizing ourselves, which does no good whatsoever. Yeah, we have somebody who's attending right now who says that she didn't discover her purpose till she was set in her 70s. So yes, brilliant, right? Like this is exciting because we're going to continue to go. And I know a lot of the research out there that says that people who retire from their jobs sometimes don't live very long afterwards because they've lost that sense of purpose. Yet if people retire from the jobs and have a sense of purpose, maybe just discover a new sense of purpose, then they can continue to live healthy, vibrant lives. I'm not saying that no sense of purpose equals sickness and disease, but it is something to consider. It is something to consider when we can see the evidence with the blue zones and the European zones, where the European lifestyles, where you can see when there is that sense of purpose, people continue to live well. So let's live well, shall we? Okay, so let's take a few minutes. We're going to take 3 minutes. I know it's not very long, but we're going to take 3 minutes to go through these questions. So the first question for you, I'll read it out to you in case you're driving. What stands out for you about your upbringing and background? So we're looking at themes or patterns is there anything that kind of stands out for you? So you may be thinking that perhaps you came from a family that was extremely loving and nurturing, and you were given lots of freedom, and you were, celebrated and given lots of opportunities, right? So maybe one of the themes was opportunities. Maybe you got to do a lot of different activities in your upbringing, like sports or musics or any kind of thing like that. Or maybe you're thinking, what stands out for me is it was very limited, and I had to figure things out for myself, and I had to stand on my own 2 feet, and it was challenging, and my home life was chaotic and unstable and unsteady. So whatever it looks like for you, what stands out for you about your upbringing and your background? And the next question is, what have been the top 3 most pivotal experiences in your life? So thinking back, you might have had something that happened in your childhood or something that happened in your teenagerhood. Could be something that was exhilarating and exciting and wonderful. It could be things that were challenging and difficult. It could be a season of your life, maybe for a few years there was a pivotal experience. It could be that there was a relationship that you had, or a relationship breakdown. It could be something you accomplished or achieved, maybe an award or a medal you received. Perhaps there were people who were in your life for a certain season that were really pivotal. So 3 of the most pivotal experiences. There might be something you're going through right now that is a truly pivotal experience. And for now, just write them down in brief form. You can always come back and expand on them. I so appreciate when I take the time to respond to questions like this. And it signals to my whole system that I'm focusing on me. And it allows me to actually open up to possibilities and to experiences and to new ways of understanding myself that I may not have had I not taken the time. The third question, what are your top 3 proudest moments? And they might be one and the same. The pivotal experience might also be one of your proudest moments. I know for me, when I suddenly found myself as a single mom with 3 kids, that when I look back, yes, one of the most pivotal moments in my life, no question. And also one of the proudest moments in my life, because I was really resilient. And I sort of am almost surprised even to this day at how much joy I had through that time, and how much I continued to feel grateful in the midst of what was one of my darkest hours. So your 3 proudest moments. If you have any troubles with any of these, ask people in your life, hey, can you help jog my memory? Like if you got somebody in your life who's been with you for a number of years, ask them to remind you. Sometimes we forget, especially if we're not writing things down and journaling. It's really easy to forget. Now, the next question is, what are 3 times you've taken a stand? And you think about people like Emmeline Pankhurst, clearly took a big, gigantic stand that shifted history. You don't have to have taken a big stand. It could have been a conversation you had with someone where you said, actually, no, that doesn't work for me. Or whether you stood up for somebody else. You said, hey, I don't like how you're treating that person. Or perhaps, there was some kind of a situation in a workplace or a school setting or anywhere out in public where things happen and you realized, oh my goodness, I could walk away and just, put my tail between my legs, or I could actually say what's up for me. I could actually use my voice and speak my truth. So what are 3 times that you've taken a stand? And the next question, when you think of the people you've been drawn to help, who are they? You might think of ages. So it might be you're drawn to help children, or you're drawn to work with youth, or you're drawn to be with people who are single parenting, or you're drawn to people with disabilities, or you're drawn to people who have mental health challenges, or you're drawn to people who are looking to create success in business. Or just think about, who are the people that you kind of feel this compulsion to help? Or when they ask you for help, you just can't help yourself because it makes you so excited. You think of all sorts of opportunities and ideas and ways that you could help them and support them. So who are these people? Now we are going to go over time today. We're going to over the hour. So if you do need to pop off, totally okay. The replays will be up and ready for you in the next couple of hours. And you can click on the link in the email that I'll be sending you. So let's move on to the next ones. And again, take a screenshot. We're going to go through these a little faster. I want you to imagine, what is the most courageous thing you've ever done? What is the most courageous thing you've ever done? Now, it may not be a gigantic feat. It may be that you used your voice. Last year, when I was in choir, they asked me to do a solo. The first 10 rehearsals, I sucked big time, and I'm not making it up. I wish I had a recording. No, I don't really wish I had a recording, but I wish I had a recording so you could see and hear how terrible I sounded. And I had my face right up into the music sheet, and I was nervous, and I don't know what got into me. And then I got it all in my head because it sucked. And then the next time it sucked because I was all up in my head and la, la, la. And it would have been really easy for me to quit. And I actually thought about quitting. And I actually kept thinking to myself, why is this choir director still allowing me to do this? Oh my gosh, what is he thinking? Anyways, I continued to persevere. I continued to tell myself I could do this. I could get through this. And I continued to tell myself that this was going to be a good story, that this was going to end up being something I could be proud of myself for. And I did. It was really hard for me. And I don't know if you can imagine how hard that was for me, but I did it. And I do feel like it was very courageous for me. You might have things that are really courageous, like hiking to the top of Mount Everest, or leaving an abusive relationship, or whatever it might be. What is the most courageous thing you've ever done? The next question for you: what is the first word you want someone to use when they think of you? What's the word that first comes to mind? I'm not even going to give you a prompt here. It's coming to mind already. Trust that that's the word. Write it down. What's the first word you want someone to use when they think of you? All right. If you could wave a magic wand and add 1 hour to every day, what would you do with that hour? What would you do? Would you rest? Would you play? Would you go exploring? Would you hang out more with friends? What would you do if you could wave your magic wand? And again, do not take time with this. What is the first thing that comes to mind? What would you do if somebody waved a magic wand and said, voila, you have an extra hour? The next question, what's one quality or characteristic that you like about yourself? Just one, just pick one. What's one thing? If you've got 25 things to write down right now, perfect, great, go for it. But just for now, what's one quality or characteristic you like about yourself? Okay. If you could relive one moment in life, what would it be? You could relive one moment. You could do it again, all over again. You could feel the feelings. You could just be present to it. What's one thing you could talk about for half an hour with no preparation? No, like, having to sit and figure it all out, but you're just like, you can't even help yourself when you're in conversations and this comes up. You just go. You just go. It's like, ooh. I love the comments that are coming in here. Yeah. Passionate, serving, as far as what people think of you. And laugh. Yeah, right. Let's laugh more. Can we laugh more? Like, just ha ha ha. And you know what? Laughter is contagious. It's contagious. So get in a room with somebody and start laughing. Find something to be funny about. Okay, I want you to take a screen capture of this because I am just going to read them out to you. And I want you to come back to this. I want you to think forward 10 years from now. What are 3 things you're able to do in the future that you're not doing right now? What are 3 things you've accomplished? 10 years is a beautiful amount of time to give yourself the opportunity to discover your purpose, to live it out, and to actually see some of the evidence of it, to see the results of it. So what are 3 things you've accomplished? What are 3 things you've taken a stand for? Maybe this is a continuation from what we just talked about, what you've already taken a stand for. What are 3 things you are going to either continue to take a stand for, or you know in the future, potentially, this is what you're going to begin to take a stand for? What has changed in your world for the better in the most unexpected or surprising way? Could be your living situation. It could be relationships. It could be travel opportunities. It could be how you feel about yourself. I mean, if nothing else, if you feel better about yourself and you fall in love with yourself more and more, and you just tune in more and you listen to your higher self more, if that is the one thing that's changed in your life 10 years from now, would that be worth it? I say yes. Who are the people 10 years from now that you have brought together? Who are the people that have come alongside with you? Who are the people you've elevated? Who are the people that you have inspired? And what are 3 things they are able to do in the future that they aren't able to do today? I love these questions because our purpose is not just about me. The reality is we are all one. And so whatever I do for myself, however I tune in and elevate my consciousness and grow in my compassion and love, it has a ripple effect. It can't help but have a ripple effect. And I want to make mention that all of these questions come from the book Purpose. Design a Community and Change Your Life by Gina Bianchini. And she sent me this book when I signed up for the app that we use Uplifted Collective on. And she sent me this book. I couldn't believe it. It was a free book. I live in Canada, and it was a hardcover book mailed for free, no duty, no shipping costs, no cost of the book, totally free, everything taken care of. And so because of that, I thought, well, I'm going to read this book because that's pretty amazing. And I cried my way through it because I was like, yes, when we have a sense of purpose, oh my gosh, our life is so much richer. And when we have that sense of purpose and we have that within community, watch out, world. It's extraordinary. Because when we feel the vibration that we desire to feel, we become a match for that in the universe. Whatever we're feeling is exactly what's going to be reflected back to us. So it makes sense that it's super essential and super important for us to begin to tune in, as I was talking about earlier, to begin to feel the feelings, and then feel how we want to feel. So that whole 10 years forward, how do I want to feel? Because if I continue to feel angsty and disappointed and frustrated, or whatever the feelings are that we're feeling right now, if we continue to feel that, guess what we get more of? We get more of that. We're going to see evidence for that. We're going to feel more evidence for that. Everything around us is going to show up to give us exactly what we have put out into the universe. So it's important for us to decide, how do I want to feel? In looking 10 years ahead, it's not that I'm longing for and I wish I could already have it. And we don't want to go to those feelings because then we're going to just get more of what we don't want. But when we go to the place of, oh, wow, like this is, I know that I will have discovered this purpose. What's it going to feel like? It's going to feel so satisfying and so rich and so warm. I'm going to feel the warmth all over my body, and I'm going to feel the excitement. I'm going to feel how wonderful this is. And I can look around and I can imagine and see the people whose lives I've touched, and oh, it just feels so good. It feels so good to know that I made a difference and to know that I stood in my truth. When we feel that in the now moment, this is when we become a match for our future. And when we're trying to do it all on our own, it can become awkward, tricky, challenging, difficult at the best of times, which is why we don't want to do it this way anymore. That's the old way of doing life. The blue zone way is the way of doing this in community, discovering who we are within community, understanding who I am as a part of one, as a part of the one, not in isolation, not just on my own. So what we truly are desiring, we all desire to feel alignment. We desire to feel congruent with who we are and the message that we bring and the way that we're acting and behaving and how we show up. If who I am is how I'm showing up, that's where there's alignment. And that's where it's so much easier to even discover our purpose. And I want to invite you to walk the journey with those who uplift you. I want to invite you to not do this alone, to truly tap into a collective. And whether or not Uplifted Collective is for you or not, I encourage you to set an intention to find your tribe, to find your community, to really explore places and avenues where you might discover people who are of a high vibration, who desire to uplift you, who desire to walk the journey with you through thick and thin, through highs and lows, and be there with you, and you also to be with them. So If it's with us, amazing. We are all just waiting to welcome our next members. We're so excited to welcome our next uplifted collective group. This really is about transformative connections. This really is about long-term wellness in our entire being. And it truly is about each one of us living joyfully. And it's for you if you desire to create a life that you love, if you desire vitality and longevity, and if you desire intentional community, and if you see the power of like-hearted souls coming together. There is such incredible energy in this. And I mentioned yesterday, I'm not going to go on very long about this. I just want to show you this one slide. That if you were to total up everything that is offered on a monthly basis, it would be valued at $500. You can pay just $44 US a month, or you can save 15% and get everything that's included for $450 for the entire year. This includes our retreats. I just hosted a one-day retreat. We have a three-day retreat coming up in the summertime. They're all free. It is one cost of $450 for the year. You will also get, if you enroll by Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, you will also get my book, which, as I said, comes out soon. Oh, I can hardly believe it. And you'll get a copy of that. You'll also get a free 1 hour of coaching with me as well. You will also get a free healing session with me. So all those extra bonuses on top of what you're going to receive every week. And the app is amazing. And we're in there cheering each other on, and we're in there connecting with each other. It's really, really beautiful. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for tuning in to yourself. Thank you for taking this moment to be present. And I just honor you for being here, honor you for being here for yourself and for the purpose that may yet be revealed, that is in that process of being revealed from within you, so that all people that you come in connection with will benefit from that purpose. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. And if you have any questions, please feel free, if you know my email or my phone number, feel free to text me or message me. Find me on Instagram at Kimberly R. Chalmers and message me there if you have any further questions. Thank you, everybody.